These are the assembly instructions for my Mother's Day flower pot. I folded down and burnished all the score lines on all my pieces. I'm going to start by assembling the base of the flower pot. I have one piece that has 5 squares on its perimeter, and then I have 5 pieces with 3 squares and 2 tabs, and 5 pieces with 2 squares and 3 tabs. And then I have my triangular shaped pieces. My triangular pieces have 3 tabs. I'm putting glue on 2 of the tabs, and then I'm taking my piece with the 5 squares and I'm inserting the triangular piece in between. I want the cut edge of my square piece to follow along the score line of the tab that's on my triangular piece on both sides, like so. So it'll just be cupped a little bit like this. And I'm just going to work my way around the shape, inserting these triangles between all 5 openings. So now that I've finished gluing those triangles in, I have these decorative panels for my triangular part. I'm just putting glue on the underside of those decorative pieces, and then I'm just gluing them on top of those 5 triangles. These triangles are cut out of foil cardstock. I also have my pentagon shape cut out of foil craft board. I'm putting glue on the underside, and then I'm just gluing it just on top of that pentagon shape that's in the center of my piece. So next I'm moving on to the pieces that have 2 tabs and 3 squares. I have 1 tab at the top and 1 tab on my right hand side. I'm putting glue on the tab that's at the top, and then I'm just taking my piece and I'm adhering that tab to one of my squares. It doesn't matter which one. I'm lining up my score line to the cut edge of that square, taking another one of those pieces that has the 2 tabs, and I'm holding it so that there's a tab on my right hand side. I'm putting glue on that top tab. I've just glued this one in. I'm just moving over 1 square and gluing my tab to the next square over on the right hand side. So now I'm going to pivot it left, and I have those 2 tabs. I'm going to put glue on both those tabs and glue my square piece so it's following the 2 score lines on my tabs. That's piece number 1, that's piece number 2, and I'm moving on to piece number 3, and I'm doing exactly the same thing, putting glue on the top tab, gluing it into the next square, and then I'm moving to the left, putting glue on both those tabs, and then gluing down that square piece so it's following the score line of both those tabs. I'm installing my 4th piece the exact same way. Now I'm on the last piece for that row. I'm gluing my tab in on that last square for that row. I'm gluing in the 2 tabs as I've been doing all along. So this was the last piece I just installed, and this was the first one on that round. And I have these 2 tabs. I'm just putting glue on them and just gluing that square down. So now I've glued in 5 more pentagon shapes that I'm going to cover with the craft board like so. So I'm just going along that layer that I just glued in and decorating it with these pentagon shapes. So between my pentagons, I have this triangular shape. So I'm taking 5 of these triangular shapes again. I'm putting glue on 2 of those tabs, and I'm holding on the 3rd. I'm just placing my triangular piece so that the score lines of my tabs are right along the cut edge of that triangular shape. And then I'm putting glue on that 3rd tab and just gluing it into that square. I'm working my way around the shape, just adding those triangles. So next I'm just going to cover those triangles that I've just glued in with those decorative panels. So at the point of every pentagon on the next layer, there's a space for me to insert another one of those triangular shapes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just putting glue on both tabs. So I'm finding the point on that pentagon and just inserting my triangular piece. I want the cut edges of these squares to be right along the score line of my tab. And I'm just working my way around the shape, adding those triangles to the points of my pentagons. So next I'm taking these triangular shapes and I'm just gluing them right on top of those triangles that I've just glued in. Next I'm taking one of my 5 pieces with the 2 squares and 3 tabs. I'm holding my piece with 1 tab at the top and 1 tab on my right, and one tab that is angled towards the bottom. I'm putting glue on the top tab and on the tab that's to the right. I'm adhering the tabs to the 2 adjacent squares of my previous row. Then I'm rotating my piece and working on the 2 squares just right of the piece that I have just glued in, and adhering my piece to the next 2 squares. Next, I am putting glue on the tabs that are to the left of my piece, and I'm gluing down the cut edges of that square to the score lines on those 2 tabs. I'm going to continue gluing the 4 other pieces, continuing along the bottom of my shape, gluing them all in. I have 5 more of those decorative pentagon shapes, and I am gluing them to the corresponding shapes that I have just glued in. Next, I'm putting glue on the 5 tabs all around and just gluing them to the walls of my shape. I have this piece with 5 panels and a tab, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines. And then I'm covering that side tab with glue from the score line to the edge. And then I'm bringing the other end over, so the cut edge of the other end is right along the score line of my tab, and the tabs at the top and at the bottom meet up. So I have 5 tabs at the top, and I'm pulling them away from the center of my piece. And I have 5 tabs at the bottom, and I have them folded inwards so that they're all pointing towards the center of my shape. Then I'm going to take one of my pentagon shapes that has the pentagon cut out in the center. I'm putting glue all over the perimeter of it, and then I'm lowering it into my shape. And then I'm pressing down with my bone folder to make sure that that glue takes. And then I'm going to flip my piece over. I'm putting glue all over the perimeter, all over those 5 tabs. And then I'm taking another one of those pentagon pieces and just covering my tabs like so. And then I have this piece that has a larger pentagon cut out of the center, and I'm just lowering it onto that piece that I've just assembled. I want the score lines for all 5 tabs to be right at that cutout that's in the center of my panel. Then I'm putting glue all over the underside of all 5 of those tabs, and I'm folding those tabs over and gluing them onto the panel. And then I'm going to flip my piece over onto my craft mat, applying a little bit of pressure with my bone folder to make sure that my glue takes. So to make the flowers, I have this tool kit that I got. So this stylus has different size tips. I'm using this size, and I'm taking one of each color, and I'm sort of drawing little circles on the petals. So I start from the center and I just work my way outwards, just drawing circles. I'm doing that for both of them. And then I'm taking the darker one, I'm putting glue in the center, and then I'm taking the lighter one. I'm gluing my lighter petals on top, but I want them to cover the space between the petals on the previous layer, like so. And then I have something called Nouveau drops. So these are glitter drops. I'm just squeezing out a little bit for the center of my flower like so. Then I'm going to let this dry thoroughly. So I have a piece that is shaped like a sun, and then I have a smaller piece. And I've already glued in that first tab. I'm going around my shape. I'm just gluing this long trapezoid shape to the tab that's on my smaller shape like so. And I want the cut edge of my trapezoid shape to go right along the score line of my little tab. And I'm just working my way around the shape, just gluing those pieces in. Then I'm putting glue on the bottom of my pentagon shape, and I'm just inserting my pentagon shape. So I'm pressing down, kind of twisting it just to make sure that it's in, that pentagon is in the groove of my pentagon at the bottom. And so the 10 flat sides of this shape should line up with the 10 flat sides of the opening of my box. So next I'm putting glue all over the perimeter of this piece, and I have a green piece that I'm laying on top. Next I have this dome piece, and I'm putting glue on the underside of it, just around the perimeter, and I'm gluing it to that green base inside. So next I've heated up my glue gun, and I have my flowers, and I've cut some leaves as well. So I'm going to start by gluing down my first layer of flowers. And as I'm going, I'm just going to add some leaves here and there. So I'm just using my hot glue, and I'm gluing on my flowers, and I'm going in and adding some leaves. I'm just randomly gluing things down until I like what I see. And so I've just mixed in a bunch of those flowers with the leaves just to give it a pop of color.